Hi everyone, Fashion Stylist Tasha Julie here, and in today's video, I thought we would have a little styling try-on and talk about 8 of the most popular fall styles of coats and jackets. I'm also going to try and mix it up a little bit for you in the try-on. Because coats and jackets can be worn with pretty much anything, I am going to try and style them up in slightly less expected ways for the try-on part of the video, because I think when we consider a blazer, there are more obvious ways that we tend to gravitate toward. But instead of taking the ultra classic route with some of these pieces, let's try and have some fun, mix it up, have a little style chat. A couple of quick notes before we get started. In case you're new here, my name is Tasha and I'm an LA-based fashion stylist. And my job as a fashion stylist includes a couple of things. I work with public figures, helping them to get ready for red carpets, events, and their everyday styling needs, as well as my private people, I guess that's what we would call people who don't live their life in the spotlight, for everyday styling, which can include sometimes special events or even weddings. And occasionally I also work on photo shoots and other commercial brand types of things. And the other quick note is, of course, that everything I wear will be linked in the description box below. But over here on my channel, I like to talk about creativity over consumption. So before utilizing any of the links to purchase new, in my job, I have seen a lot of rampant consumerism. I also happen to have a finance background. That's what I did before I transitioned into being a full-time stylist. So I know things like the fact that 58% of Americans have less than $5,000 in savings. But as a fashion stylist, I also know that 25% of women feel satisfied with their appearance. And I think that our society has led them down this path of believing that if they buy this or get this designer thing and level up or make themselves over, that they will somehow be worthy. And that has led people down the path of financial unwellness. So that is why I talk about creativity over consumption. There can be times when buying new is the solution, but I just want all of my clients to kind of do a mental check-in and make sure they are purchasing new for the right reasons. They're not chasing some unrealistic ideal, some temporary hit of dopamine. I think in our society, we tend to have a lot of instant gratification, those quick dopamine hits, but nobody really talks about how great they would feel about putting that $500 into their savings account rather than spending it on a new piece of clothing. So that's why I talk about creativity over consumption or shopping your closet. It's never my intention to lead somebody astray or down a bad financial path or into a pattern of unwellness. All right, so now that we've had a chat about being good, responsible adults, let's get into these looks, which brings me to my first one, kind of a play on winter whites and neutrals on purpose, a little more monochromatic. This coat's a great classic piece because it's the maxi length, it's wool, it'll keep you warm. It's got a little bit of a fun, kind of a textured tonal stripe that runs through it, so it's not too boring, but it's also functional in the way that it's full length, it'll keep you warm with the wool fabric, but it's got this cute double-breasted detail, keeping it a little more chic and classic. Ironically, the two most common requests I get from those of you that watch my content are about 50-50, more casual and more dressy. So this is on the more casual side for those of you who enjoy those kinds of looks, or if it just happens to fit better into your lifestyle. A lot of what I wear is kind of middle of the road because that's the kind of lifestyle that I lead. I oftentimes find myself leaving the house in the morning, I go out, I work with clients, sometimes that includes an event or a lunchtime meeting afterwards, or something even later on in the evening that I want to look a little more elevated for. So those are the kind of looks that fit best into my lifestyle, but I get it, some people live a more dressed up life. Even though it's a more slightly casual look, t-shirt, jeans. The jeans are a straight leg style and I also pair them with clogs, which are kind of having their moment in the sun this fall. And then paired with a straight leg jean, which you can never really go wrong with, but it is going to be a little more on trend this fall than usual. And in case you haven't seen it yet, I did recently film a video styling fall's 8 most popular denim trends. The thumbnail looks like this, you can find it in my more recent videos. But circling back to this look, I think it can be nice to have jackets in your wardrobe that are both cute, stylish, and functional. Sometimes I feel like the more functional jackets, like waterproof or puffer, like super warm, sometimes look a little too casual or even sometimes like a camping outfit. Not only does this have some water resilience to it, it's got some fun styling detail, this sort of, what would you call this, like a drawstring cinch up waist. So it's functional, fun, and it's still slightly more elevated basic that goes nice with more casual looks to add a little bit of spice to them for those days that you want to be kind of dressed down but still want to look put together. I've said it before and I will say it again, one of the fun ways to play around with pieces in your wardrobe but make sure that they still have longevity is to experiment with things that are a classic. Like this, I would consider to be somewhat of a pea coat, overcoat, but it's been slightly reworked in this cape sort of kimono sleeve style. So it'll still have longevity, but it's a little more fun than just a plain kind of wool pea coat. So you guys get the idea with where I'm going with how to have fun with slightly more elevated or reimagined basics. That'll accomplish two things. It will fit nicely into your base or capsule wardrobe. You'll still have those pieces that all kind of mix and match and play nicely together, but it's not so just drab and cookie cutter that you fell asleep just thinking about it. So pieces like this are things that I personally love to incorporate into my own wardrobe, obviously, as well as things that I guide my clients toward. Don't get me wrong, I do love to pick up a statement piece once in a while as kind of a wardrobe wild card, but doing that too often means that you need to buy more things because you need to incorporate things to go with this wild card item that you've picked up. So for longevity, I do encourage basics, but for some excitement peppered in, it's nice to find them in sort of reworked or fun silhouettes like this. Next up in my list of fall coats and jackets must-haves is the blazer. But since I wanted to show you guys something a little less expected for a blazer, I chose a pattern. I don't know if you guys can tell this is there. Yeah, you can tell. So the pattern makes it a little less basic. So in styling this, I'm playing off of a couple things. So kind of a casual on purpose. The sweater almost looks like it's inside out. I actually had to double check before I came on camera for where the tag was because it's got the raw seam on the neckline and the sleeves. So it intentionally looks like it's inside out. And then the olive pants are kind of a weird hybrid of jean and cargo pant, also still casual. Since the base look is more on the casual side, the blazer really dresses it up, makes it a little bit more elegant, gives it that little something special. And we're also playing off of a couple of different themes here. A little safari-esque, but nothing too crazy, as well as the slightly English countryside vibe, which is going to be hugely popular this fall. And I think that's a great one because it's easy. It's not a crazy, wild, over-the-top trend. And typically speaking, it uses a lot of easy-to-wear pieces, so like plaid blazers, sweaters, and a slightly elevated trouser. So that's an easy fall trend for those of us who don't like to do too much or wildly chase trends. Speaking of which, I did recently create a video of the top 8 fall fashion trends for those of us who are kind of trendy, but not really, and I'll pop it in up here. It's in my most recent videos if you want to take a peek at that. All right, guys, I had so much fun putting this next look together. I've intentionally got the sleeves of the flannel sticking out from this oversized leather bomber jacket, which of course is the next jacket in this lineup in case you couldn't have guessed. Now, being an oversized leather bomber, you could really wear this with pretty much anything, but I styled it this way because I wanted to show you guys something a little less expected. As a fashion stylist, you might imagine there are several iconic style moments that live rent-free in my head, but one of my favorites of all time happens to be Alicia Silverstone from the Aerosmith video. I think it was Crazy, where she's got on the flannel shirt and the jeans. And it of course entails one of my favorite style aesthetics, 90s. So this is a nice way to kind of dress up a slightly more grunge flannel style top paired with a skirt and some chunky boots. It would still totally be functional for fall weather. Perhaps if you needed to throw on some tights, you could absolutely do that. But I think this is such a great sort of 90s styled, fun way to play up the iconic bomber jacket in a slightly less expected way than the stereotypical jeans and boots. So this was a fun one for me. Don't be surprised if I pop up on my socials wearing exactly this look as soon as the weather in LA permits. Okay guys, if I was to recommend you just one coat out of this entire lineup, it would be the trench. And I think for a couple of reasons, because it's a classic, it's got really excellent longevity, you can wear it with a variety of things, you could wear it with nothing underneath, I mean, whatever floats your boat. But for those reasons, its versatility, it's gonna give you the most bang for your buck. And speaking of that, that brings me to my other reason that it's probably the most recommended piece. And because of the recent increase in the popularity of trench coats, you can find them in both really wonderful, affordable versions, as well as the way it was more often than not before these days, the classic investment piece should you wish to go that way. I'd also like to point out that I have resurrected my Gucci belt. They were all over the runway of Gucci's recent Milan runway show, so I decided to dig mine out of my closet and wear it, which brings me back to a point that I was making earlier. Back in the day when this was popular, this was a flash in the pan impulse purchase that I truly did not need. Everybody was wearing it, and of course that led me to fall into the mob mentality trap and feel like I needed it too. So I went and I bought it, and it was cute and popular for a very small minute. And then it's been asleep in my closet until now. So So after seeing it all over the Milan runway, I thought to myself, you know, I still have my Gucci belt. Truth be told, if I could go back in time and tell myself back then that I did not need this and it did not change my life in any way, I would definitely go back and not have purchased it. But since I did, I already have it. I am going to get my use out of it, but do not take this as a sign of encouragement that you need to go out and buy one if you don't already have one. If you do have one, maybe resurrect it, but you do not need to go out and buy this. Okay, so out of all the looks in this lineup, this one's probably the most classic Tasha. If you happen to ever bump into me while I'm out and about running around in LA, I will probably be wearing either exactly this or something quite like it. So this leather jacket, if you've seen any of my other videos, has made quite a few appearances, and true to my style tips, this is an investment piece that I bought with longevity in mind. It's actually by the brand Arma. I think they're Swedish, don't quote me on that. I did pick it up on sale. It was literally about half price, which is actually one of my styling tips, or shopping tips, I should say. When you're looking for jackets, you can get them in the off season, so spring, summer, when it's hot and nobody's really wearing them, you can get them for a much better price. Unfortunately, right now we're heading into fall and winter, so most of the jackets are full price, but during the spring and summer, you can find them at a pretty good discount. Same thing in juxtaposition with swimwear and like resort wear. That you can probably find on sale right now because people are not wearing that as much. So another fun little shopping tip for you. So this is a great classic look, but I've also broken it up with some texture. I don't know if you guys can see that. Yeah, so there's a slightly sheer stripedness to the top. So of course, it's what I would call a little bit more of an elevated basic. And a few other styling tips around leather jackets. They can sometimes be harder to wear for grown ladies, and I think that if they get too much going on, like zippers, chains, it very much leans super duper like motorcycle mama kind of Gemma Teller, and it can be quite aging and also look a little bit less refined. So that's the way I personally enjoy my leather jackets to be. So a little more classic, slightly more refined, so that they don't tread into like Hell's Angel wife territory. Please don't tell me TikTok's gonna make that an aesthetic. We already had mob wife, which was cute, but motorcycle gang member wife, not a thing. Tara from Sons of Anarchy, may she rest in peace, but I'm not sure I want to dress like her. All right guys, last but not least, I thought an ultra casual look would really kind of help round out the looks in this video, leaving kind of something for everybody. So this sort of Sherpa pullover jacket thing, in another one of these sort of the moment TikTok aesthetics, horse girl. I don't know if you guys can see it, but this actually has horses printed on it. This is a casual look, but slightly more fun, just something I would throw on if I needed to pop out and run an errand or go get a coffee early in the morning. I hope the weather where you live is being slightly less all over the place. In LA, it's been kind of cool in the mornings and night. There's been this weird heavy mist that has rolled in. So you really do kind of need some layers in order to leave the house and not be too hot or too cold once the weather starts playing its tricks. So this is paired just with a tank top. So it's kind of a helpful transitional fall look. And in case the weather's still being wonky where you live too, I did create a video on transitional fall outfits, which can be a little bit tricky because of the hot and cold of it. So I'll pop that up here. I think that you'll like that as well. And that's it for today. Thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you guys soon in another video. And until then, be well.